Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 65.
Five?
I
I
say
think it's
65.
65.
Yeah, 65. I guess 65. Yes, I got it. 65. Um, of, of Talking ATL Hawks. I am again joined by the best crew I could ever ask for, the Jefferson twins, Andrew and Chase Jefferson. How are we feeling, guys?
We're feeling good,
Um,
man. We finally got some snow. Well, I say finally, but it's the first time we've actually gotten snow since about this time last year. Well, we I don't know.
Well,
This is a calendar year. Well,
yeah.
but we got some snow. It didn't stick around for very
Uh,
long, but I'm
yeah,
at
yeah.
least happy to see that what the Weather Channel said actually happened because that doesn't really happen here in the South. So
Oh
that was
yeah.
nice.
You
Um,
know, like, so, like last week they said that they were like canceling school for on Monday because of how bad the snowstorm was going to be. It didn't. It wasn't bad at all. This time it snowed, but we're still having school tomorrow. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's just one of those things because the roads aren't going to ice over, and I think that's just like the main thing they're looking out for. But I mean, all the
yeah,
snow's gone now. That like
no,
winter
yeah, no,
wonderland
it's gone.
lasted
Yeah,
long. It lasted longer than Lamelo Ball and what's his face in the shower. So yeah,
yeah.
no.
I wish I knew his name.
I know what John's talking about because like last weekend, like the weather we had this weekend in terms of snow and ice was way worse than what we had last weekend. So why
Yeah.
did they shut everything down last weekend when they're keeping everything open this weekend? It makes absolute no sense. Welcome to
Well,
winter storms in the South, ladies and gents.
yeah.
I think they just learned their lesson. That like no matter what they say or no matter what happens, it's never going to be bad enough to like cancel anything. I think they're just like, yeah, we're not doing this 2 weeks in a row. I can't blame them.
But
Uh,
getting back to basketball, um, Chase, you're frozen.
He's just frozen on the story. Like this is a story ad.
Oh gosh, we're gonna get canceled now.
Oh no.
why is it always me that can y'all hear me?
Yeah, now we
Yep.
can.
I don't know why it's always me that has the technology issues, but I thought before you begin, we gotta show some love to Starry here. Not a sponsor, but I don't think Starry gets enough love and appreciation. And y'all jump on me if y'all want. Jump on me. I dare y'all to come through the screen. But this is way better than Sprite. Way better than
Yeah,
Sprite.
that is like not even close to being the truth.
Come jump me.
Speaking of like very underrated drinks, I don't think you'll be able to guess what I'm about to grab out of my fridge.
You're about to pull
This is
out an
why you have
RC. He's about to pull out an RC Cola.
Nope,
RC Dr. Thunder.
nope,
Mountain
Boy's pulling out the
Fizz.
Dr. Thunder.
nope.
Mountain Fizz is crazy work.
Diet Right.
What is
in
that?
the balls?
I have
It's
never in my life heard of Diet Right.
it's 0 calories, 0 caffeine, and 0 sodium. So basically,
Zero.
like the perfect diet soda, basically.
You know what you
Is it
should
like?
really
Is
do?
it like?
You should
Is it
go.
like?
You should go in your pantry and then grab a bottle of water. Because that's essentially what you're drinking there. It's just water.
No, it's not. Like it. It kind of tastes like Diet Coke. Honestly, just not. But it's not Diet Coke.
So
It's Diet
it's
Coke.
Coke. It's cola. It's just
Yeah.
Diet Right.
Yes.
Okay, can we talk about the name? Who made that? It was like, you know what? Let's cook up a name. Well, what sounds like refreshing? How about Diet Right? That sounds like some
I mean,
kind of
hey,
like sounds like some kind of antifreeze.
it's diet and it's right. What's the
They didn't
confusion
even they
here?
didn't even they didn't
They
even
got straight to the point.
they didn't even spell right.
No, well, I mean, they kind of did.
Well, yeah, because
Mm.
right has a copyright license on it.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, back to the basketball, I guess.
No more sponsors.
Yeah. Man, no, we're not sponsored by these drinks. Obviously, we are just drinking for because we enjoy them. Anyways, back to the
Well,
basketball.
who's
We do have some
we?
Hawks. Before I get into my start bench cut, we do have some Hawks news, good and somewhat bad, depending on how you feel about this. But first of all, Jalen Johnson was officially announced as an All-Star, which we knew this, but
All-Star
Was there
reserve.
ever a doubt?
Because you never know, like the voters could easily screw over Jalen Johnson, even though he very well deserves this. But anyways,
He leads the league in double doubles with 32. He's got 8 triple doubles. He's shooting close to 50%
nine
on the
triple
year.
doubles now.
I
No,
thought
it's
it
8.
was, but that was actually his 8th triple double, not
It's
his
8.
9th. Yeah, we
Well,
miscounted it. But still,
Either way, that leads the Eastern Conference too.
right.
I thought it was tied, or did it lead?
I think
He
the one he
was
has
tied with Pat. Hold on, he was asking me because I'm the one that brought it up, you
Yeah,
buffoon.
I'm asking Andrew.
But yeah, he was tied with Cat going into that Pacers game, and then that triple double got him over the hump. Because a triple double still counts as a double double because he got the double double leading into the triple double. So now he's ahead of Cat by 1 game, or one double double, anyways.
Yeah. So the East reserves are it's Jalen. It's Jalen, I believe. I think it's Jalen, Cat. Who else? Jalen, Cat.
Norman Powell.
Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, and Jalen Duren. So
My man Scotty Barnes out there, baby. Seminole represent. Shout out.
I personally, I looked at the East and the West, and I really don't have any complaints. I think the only complaint I've heard about the Eastern Conference is a lot of Bulls fans think that Josh Giddey should have been in over Norman Powell. While I respectfully disagree, I mean Norman Powell, he's averaging more points, he has a better shooting percentage. But Josh Giddey is almost averaging a triple double. He's averaging 18.99. So people think he's kind of like an all bet around player.
Wait, what? He's averaging over 17 points again. Over 17? What?
He's averaging 18 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists.
He's averaging over 17.
He's over legal. He's over the age of consent.
Josh Giddey's progressing in the world. He kind of he's still like he's barely hitting the mark, but he's over the hump. And the other complaint I heard in the Western Conference, and look, say what you want. There is such thing as a GOAT tax. I know LeBron James statistically has no reason to be a Western Conference All-Star, but this is LeBron's final ride. Yeah, whether it's this year or last year, it's probably going to be next year. This is coming down to the end of LeBron James. LeBron could play 5 minutes and average 2 points in those 5 minutes, and he'd still be an all-star because his name's LeBron James. I understand. I understand it. I respect it. It's GOAT tax. They did the same thing with Kobe Bryant. GOAT tax is a thing.
Same thing with D Wade and Dirk as well. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Although happens to all the GOATs.
I would argue that Dirk was a legit all-star his last season. I'm just saying he actually was having a quite really good year his last season in the NBA. He was like averaging like 20 points and shooting like 47%. It was actually a very underrated season of Dirk was his last year actually. But everybody else like Kobe, LeBron, they were not all-stars their last year. But like you said, Chase, GOAT tax is a thing, and I respect it.
But yeah, so on to the somewhat bad news, depending on how you take it. We did make a surprise trade, at least in my eyes. We traded Vit Krejčí to Portland. So he's going to a West Coast team, so he'll be doing good over there.
Portland's a fun team right now. I'm happy for Vit.
Portland's a fun team, but we got back this dude. I'm not going to say his name because we're about to waive him anyway.
He's not important. We don't need him.
Yeah, but we got. I believe the trade was 2 second-round picks and this dude that we're gonna waive anyway.
Which we're gonna waive him because he's already been rolled out for the year, and we just got Koloko from Memphis, who's actually been playing really nice. So he's just gonna be useless on the roster. And
wait, honestly, what got like that for Vic? Because Vic's been doing pretty solid for us.
Well, I think what it is that his progression on the team has just gone down recently. Like his minutes has gone down. He's not taking nearly as much shots. And that's not because he's losing talent. It's because Luke Kennard has become the version of Luke Kennard that we signed in the offseason. And now that Luke Kennard has stepped up, it's forced Vit to take a step back. And I
Also,
think
Corey Kispert as well. Also, when we traded for Corey Kispert.
absolutely. And Corey Kispert, the way he's been playing, has done really, really well. So I think it's just a thing like since Vit's becoming like a backseat driver to this team and he's not being used the way he was at the start of the season, we might as well ship him out for some draft capital so we can continue to build for the future. So to me, we really only gained from this trade. I don't think we lost anything because we still have the value that Vit brought to this team. But we shipped him off for 2 second-round picks that we can use along with our first New Orleans pick. And I think it's a great trade. I think it worked out well for both teams because that's a lethal shooter that Portland can add to their roster that already has a lot of lethal shooters on there. So I'm happy for both sides here. What do you think, Chase?
I agree.
Okay. Well, I guess speaking of the trade deadline, this will get into my start bench cut / question. I guess, do you think that the Hawks will make any more big or small moves? Or do you think that we are done? And you know what? Just to be fun, where do you guys think Giannis goes to? And what's the trade package is?
I think in terms of Giannis, Milwaukee. It's no question Milwaukee's about to go full rebuild here. So what they're shopping for is draft capital, as much draft capital as they can get. And the 2 teams that can offer the most draft capital is OKC and Golden State, because those.
If he goes to OKC, just give him the ring already,
dude. They're gonna be like the NBA Dodgers.
I could not imagine Shai Gilgeous paired up with Giannis and Chet Holmgren. That's just absolutely lethal. But see, that is very likely because of the draft capital that both teams have. But I think the team that's kind of stirring the most interest right now is Golden State. I saw kind of like a mock package, and a lot of people think Golden State's going to send in, and we're talking like multiple first-round picks, multiple second-round picks, all for Giannis. If you ask me, though,
I don't want to cut you off, Chase, but just to make sure, make sure I'm correct, wasn't Golden State's package, did it include their first-round picks leading all the way up to 2032?
I don't think it was all of them, but it was most of them. But the thing is, if I'm Golden State, if I'm a Golden State fan, I am getting on my hands and knees praying that does not happen. Because Golden State has been rocking with the same core for years now, and it's dwindling. Age is getting to them.
Yeah.
Curry's still Curry, but Draymond Green his production's gone way down. Curry's production is going to get worse and worse. And then,
is it really? Is it really?
For Curry standards, Curry's still great, but he's not the Curry he was 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, once they're gone, once they're good and gone, what does Golden State have? They have Pominski.
Pominski's good.
But do they have anything else?
Right now they still got Kuminga. Where did he get? No,
Kuminga's gone.
Yeah, Kuminga's gone.
Yeah, so, they traded him last year for.
So
I think Kuminga is gone. I don't think he. No. I think he's on somebody else's. I think he's on their G League team. I think he's on somebody else's G League team.
No, either way. Well, either way, my point is they're giving away. They're willing to give away their whole future that they desperately need because they're about to get to a point where they need to rebuild. So what happens if they give all this for Giannis? They don't win the finals in this year or next year. And then Giannis's age is going to catch up to him soon. And then they're going to have to get rid of Giannis too. And then what do they have left? They're going to have to fight through a rebuild with no advantage, no draft capital. And they're going to be in the same place that Charlotte is. Because that's kind of why, like during the Michael Jordan days when Michael Jordan owned the Charlotte Hornets, that's kind of the reason Jordan got frustrated and kind of sold the team was because he was having to rebuild a team that had no draft capital. And that's why Charlotte's been awful for years, because that's almost an impossible thing to do. And I really feel like if Golden State gives all this away for Giannis, they're going to run into the same issue. They're going to be having to start rebuilding with no draft capital. And history proves that's nearly impossible. So if I'm a Golden State, this is my message to you, Golden State. That makes no sense, and you'd be making a big mistake if you did that. So with all things considered, OKC makes the most sense, but I am praying that does not happen, because you can cancel the season if that happens.
Yeah. I mean, like, my thing with Giannis is I do think he will get traded. But
it's almost a guarantee. Yeah, he's not sticking around with Milwaukee.
And I honestly think that he gets traded to the Heat. I think that the Heat send.
Yeah, I hope not.
I think that the Heat send like Wiggins, Tyler Hero, and some picks for Giannis.
I agree. I think it's either going to be the Knicks. I think he's staying in the Eastern Conference. I think it's either going to be the Knicks or the Heat, because both the Knicks and the Heat have the future draft picks that they could ship off. That it's not going to hold up to the same weight that Golden State and OKC have in turn their picks. But one thing that the Knicks and the Heat have that the Thunder and the Golden State don't is they have talent, current talent that they can ship off alongside with their picks and be okay with losing. Like, obviously OKC and Golden State, they have current talent now, but none of them are going to be willing to ship those guys off and their picks for Giannis. But you're right, Chase. Milwaukee wants to rebuild. So draft picks is going to be their priority. But if you're looking at, really raising the stakes to get a guy like Giannis, you send them picks that they can use to rebuild off of and get them current talent now to help develop whatever young guys they get, young bucks they get with those draft picks. And I think the Heat and the Knicks both had that in hand. And I think that's why it makes those a more likely contestant than OKC and Golden State. Because I think while they don't have as many picks to offer, they have more to offer, so to speak, with the combination of both picks and players.
Okay. And then the second part of my question, do you think that the Hawks will do anything else before Thursday's deadline, or do you think that we're done?
I don't think so.
I was shocked, honestly, that we even made the move today. I was telling Angie earlier today.
Yeah.
I wasn't even considering that the Hawks would make any moves at the trade deadline. This move does make sense. I mean, obviously, the main reason we traded Vit was for draft capital. And like Andrew mentioned, it's not that his production was going down. It's just that he didn't really have a place on the team anymore because of how Luke Kennard's been playing and because of how Corey Kispert's kind of found his rhythm on the team now. But I don't really see any other moves that we might make that would make sense. I think the Hawks are okay with where they're at right now. Our main point of focus is trying to, have a great end to the season and maybe by the grace of God not be in the play-in, but if we are, at least play the play-in, but focus on this offseason, because this upcoming offseason is where all the big moves are going to happen. That's where we're going to have to, figure out where we are in the draft standings and start deciding who's going to be, the next big thing paired with Jalen Johnson. And another thing I think the Hawks are going to really focus on this offseason is the future of Zachary Ricochet. I think that's going to be something that's heavily considered this offseason. So I think the Hawks are more looking forward and not really concerned about right now. So I wouldn't expect the Hawks to make any more moves. That's probably the only one we're going to make, to be honest.
My only thing is if I see like Anthony Davis trade, I'm not going to open up Twitter,
bro.
If I see Anthony Davis trade, I'm going to know it's to Atlanta, and then we just traded like Kennard and Chris Thompson. We just got Davis.
If we trade for Anthony Davis, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're gonna go live on YouTube. And we're gonna go live on YouTube, and those little paper sacks that fans wear over their head when their team sucks and they have like a little teardrop. We're gonna be wearing those paper sacks, butt naked in front of the camera for an hour live stream, not saying a word.
I'm down. I'm down with that. Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen if we get Anthony Davis.
Hey Chase, I don't know if I don't know if you know, but you're like, I don't know if Joyner's having the same thing, but you're cutting out and glitching really bad every time you talk.
Not for me.
I
He looks good right now.
I think it might be you, Angie, because I know you're recording upstairs, and that is I never have good connection right there.
Jordan,
So,
but if that was the case, then Joyner would be doing the same thing, but Joyner's not doing the same thing.
I don't know.
Anyways,
But
shall we get into some Hawks basketball?
let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it, fellas.
So on Wednesday, we traveled to Boston, which we thought would be which we thought would be a tough place because it's Boston. They got Jaylen Brown, Derek White. Who else? That's it, really.
Pritchard has been playing really well this year as well.
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard. Jordan Walsh. But we came out with a W somehow. We came out with a
Big
W. And we did that. We did this with. We did this without Zachary Shea and Kristaps Porzingis. So So let's get into it. So now was our leading scorer with 21 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. Corey Kispert had 13 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Okongwu had 17, 6 and 3, and a nasty tooth injury. Which I'll let Andrew get into that in a little bit because
wow. I don't know if I should be flattered or offended, but thanks, Jordan.
Anyways, so Jalen Johnson had finished with 19, 14, and 7, and then Dyson finished with 15, 6, and 9, and then CJ McCollum had 13 off the bench. What else thoughts on the game?
This is like the perfect example of a complete full team effort because the real only stand that the Hawks had was Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but it was one of those games where almost everybody got to eat at the table. We had many players getting double figures.
I cannot pick a player of the game. Well, I cannot pick a single player of the game for this game. Like I think it's just the Hawks who play the game. Like you can't pick. I mean, it can't. I mean, maybe I would say Dyson because of what he did to Jaylen Brown. I mean,
everybody.
21 points, 9 for 20 shooting, 0 for 5 from 3-point.
Everybody had their own moments of the game where they stepped up in the right moment and did their thing. And you're absolutely right, Joyner. Dyson Daniels on the defensive end. To me, the Hawks won this game straight from the tip. It's how we played in the first quarter. What's that?
We didn't have Dyson last time we played him when we got blown out. So
and that's what I was gonna say. It's a really big revenge game. No, you're good. That was a perfect segue. It's a big revenge game because you're right, John. When the Celtics came to Atlanta, about a month and a half ago, it was City Edition night. It was a big game, but we were without Dyson. The team in itself was just depleted. We were coming off a really long road trip, so the team's morale was down because we came off that tough loss to the Trailblazers, tough loss to the Lakers. Then you had to turn around and play Boston on a back-to-back, and we were just caught sleeping. It was ugly. Jaylen Brown scored 30 points in the first half. But then, and like I said, I think the Hawks won this game straight from the tip because it was what we did in the first quarter that kind of set the tone. The Hawks were on a 3-game winning streak, had a lot of momentum. We were climbing our way out of that play-in tournament slot. And we knew the Celtics were hot. They've been hot for a while. They're sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference. But we remembered what happened in State Farm, and we want to send a message that they caught us at a bad time and that we're a different team now. And from in the first 5 minutes of that game showcased that, because the way we were defensively, we completely shut down Jaylen Brown. We made him our number one target because he was just relentless in that first game in State Farm Arena. But it's the way that our ball movement looked. I mean, it seemed like everything was just flowing so nicely. We had good communication at the top of the key. We found our way around perimeter. The off-ball movement was fantastic. We were hitting backdoor cuts. We were hitting our shots early. Dyson Daniels got out to a hot start offensively, and we kind of put the pressure on Boston's back really, really early. That kind of caused them to go frantic and allow the Hawks to build a 20-point lead before the second quarter even started. And I think that was a really good tone setter for what was to come, because we had some really good performances, like Jalen Johnson. Okongwu was really good at the end of the game in more ways than one. Nikhil Alexander-Walker hit some big shots. But I think if you're asking me how the Hawks won this game, I think all you had to do is watch the first 12 minutes and you know exactly how the Hawks won the game. Because though we slipped a little bit, later in the game, we had our moments where we weren't perfect, but we always stayed consistent and we bounced back really quick whenever we caught ourselves sliding. And that's why the Hawks, once we gained our double-digit lead, we never let that drop. We led for double digits for the entire way of the game once we grabbed that quick early. I think they actually might have brought it down to like 9 points at some point in the third quarter, but that was picked up on really quick. But Chase, tell us about how the Hawks was able to translate that hot start into the rest of the game.
Well, I mean, I think it all goes to their approach heading into this game. They asked Quinn Snyder before the game, does your team remember, what Boston did to y'all back in January in State Farm Arena? And he was asking Quinn Snyder, do you want your team to remember that? And Quinn Snyder's like, of course you do. He's like, you want to feel it. You want to remember what it was like getting embarrassed in front of your home crowd against the Celtics. And he's like, and we know exactly how it happened. And, and I think Nikhil Alexander-Walker spoke about that very well at the end of the game when they interviewed him after the big win in Boston. He was like, we remember what happened when they came to Atlanta. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Jaylen Brown, they were going for career nights. Sam Hauser, was close to breaking the Celtics franchise record on most threes in a game. So that's exactly what Quinn Snyder and the Hawks hoed down on in this previous meeting. When the Celtics came to Atlanta, the Celtics made 22 threes and shot 42% beyond the arc. Here this previous week, and when the Hawks dominated Boston, Celtics only made 9 threes and shot 26%. So you can tell Quinn Snyder just adjusted accordingly to what went wrong in the previous matchup. They locked down beyond the arc. They were contesting anything, closing down passing lanes from deep, so that way Boston didn't have a chance at a good look from beyond the arc. And, it was a beautiful defensive performance. And you even talked about Jordan, too. Though Jaylen Brown scored 21 points, he had a horrible field goal percentage, and he missed every single three-point shot that he took. And Dyson Daniels played the biggest part of that. And like you said, John, we didn't have Dyson Daniels to guard Jaylen Brown like that in the first meeting. So, I give all the praise to Quinn Snyder, just preparing the team accordingly and adjusting the team accordingly and taking what went wrong in the first matchup and executing it in a way where it wasn't even a factor in the second matchup.
Yeah, and I guess we'll go ahead and kind of get into what happened to Okongwu, because I know John wants me to speak on his behalf since I've kind of been down that road myself. So, it was late in the game. This happened. Nikhil Alexander, Never mind. Let me take a couple steps back. So basically, what happened was it was late in the game. The Hawks were going down the stretch in the fourth quarter. We had our closed game lineup in where the Hawks were trying to make one final push to solidify the win and get it completely out of reach for Boston. And who played a big factor in that fourth quarter closeout was Onyeka Okongwu, because he really he was doing it all night, but really in like the closing minutes of the fourth quarter, Onyeka Okongwu was just a big presence in the paint for us. He was dominating the glass. He was getting a lot of boards, just really doing whatever he can to take away the paint away from Boston to force them to shoot contested outside shots. Like Chase said, they were really poor on the entire night. So that's where we wanted their shots to come from, where they were least efficient. So Okongwu played a big part in that defensive presence, and he was also really good in the post, and that's what he was trying to portray on Jaylen Brown. He kind of had him a little outside the paint towards the wing. He was trying to back him down and kind of use some post moves to get around him. Well, in an attempt to kind of hold Okongwu back, Jaylen Brown swung his elbow into Okongwu's mouth, which I can pull up a picture. I can try to pull up a picture, but basically what happened was
I wouldn't do that because we don't want this video to get restricted. Because
you think it would get restricted if I threw a photo out there?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I'll keep it off. So just do your own research. But
I already showed them Zesty LaMelo. They already saw. I think we gave him enough nasty for one night.
Yeah, but basically what happened was Okongwu's, it was really like his 3 front teeth was pushed all the way back to the back of his gums because of the force on Jaylen Brown's elbow. So that caused a bloody mess. I mean, his mouth was full with blood. And learning from experience, that's where the braces come in. I've had that same thing happen to one of my front teeth. And just to, long story short, you got to get it pulled. You have to get it pulled. There's really no way you can fix that, which means Okongwu's going to have to get some implants. It's a whole messy process. But Okongwu, the best part about that moment, Okongwu, as soon as it happened, ran to the bench, put a towel in his mouth, head to the locker room. Well, during that whole altercation, the Coach Sina was demanding that the officials take a look at that because it was, inexcusable forced contact to the head area that automatically gets upgraded to a flagrant 1. But by rule, Okongwu has to take the free throws if he wants to remain in the game. Now, you can sub a free throw shooter if Okongwu is incapable, but if you do that, Okongwu is not allowed to come back in the game. Well, Okongwu wasn't coming back in the game anyway, so the Hawks really could have subbed him out. It didn't really matter, but I guess for some reason Okongwu wanted to take the free throws because he immediately got word, and he came sprinting out of the locker room with a bloody towel in his mouth, took it out, and there was still blood coming from his mouth, and he still got out to the free throw line and kind of had his Mamba mentality moment. He missed the first free throw, but made the second, and then immediately took off into the locker room. Well, the funny thing was Jalen Johnson was unaware of what happened to Okongwu. He thought like maybe he had a bloody nose or something. So after Okongwu hit his second free throw, he turned around and, he had his mouth open to keep the because I guess he was trying to not close his mouth all the way, and Jalen Johnson saw what his teeth looked like, and you could see Jalen's face. He was horrified, what the crap is wrong with your mouth? It was just a crazy moment. And then 2 minutes later, Nickeil Alexander-Walker hit a left-handed fader from the timeline and banked it in, and that kind of solidified that. It forced the Celtics broadcaster to say a curse word on air, and it was.
Wait, hold on, I didn't catch this. What happened?
Yeah, after Nickeil Alexander-Walker hit that insane left-handed dagger, the broadcaster said WTA, not WTH, but he said what WTH is abbreviated for. He was so upset. He was so pissed, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker made that. It was funny though. It was so funny, but yeah.
Something else that was pretty funny was the whole Coach Missoula incident where he threw his assistant ref.
I forgot about that.
That game was so physical. I couldn't understand, but He was clear. I think it was like Dyson that got fouled or something, and so like Joe Mazzulla didn't think he was fouled, but I think he challenged it. The rest ruled ruled against him, and he almost got ejected quick. I was surprised he wasn't ejected without. I mean, with like beating up his own like throwing his own assistant coach like to the ground. Like come on, man, that's your assistant. You can't be doing that.
It seems like every NBA team has that one place they just never lose. And for some odd reason, that's what Boston is to Atlanta. Because that's now the fourth straight game in TD Garden that the Atlanta Hawks have won. And that's dating back to last year. Two really big wins in TD Garden. One of them during the NBA group play stage that was without Trae Young. That's when Okongwu, in my opinion, had his best game of his Hawks career, was in that game in TD Garden. So, I feel like every NBA team has that. That's what Atlanta is for the Toronto Raptors. For some reason, the Hawks can just never beat the Raptors in State Farm Arena.
The Hawks in general. I'm just going to add to your point. I just looked it up. The Hawks in general just have a really solid record playing at TD Garden. I mean, we have a losing record, but we're 24-25 all time in TD Garden, and that's actually a lot. That's
not bad at all.
Yeah, but
I thought you said that else. Yeah, it's not bad at all. That's actually a lot better than what the all-time record is against the Celtics at home. So you're right, Chase. They're just one of those teams that we were better against on the road for some reason.
And, I feel like just in general, like just as of late, the Hawks have just played really good against the Celtics in general. I mean, just minus the first match of this year. That was a complete disaster. But, I mean, shoot, even go back to 2 years ago, when the Hawks had 2 games against the Celtics at home in the same week, and we won them both. One of them in overtime. The other one was like a 20-point comeback, capped off by DeAndre Hunter game winner. Shout out to you, Hunter. That was back in the Dre days.
Who just got traded to the Sacramento Kings for Keon Ellis and 2 first-round picks, by the way.
And Schroeder. Schroeder is now Cleveland Cavaliers. Shout out to Hawks legend Dennis Schroeder. I was talking to our buddy Jackson Bowles, who's a big Celtics fan. I was actually on the phone with him as I was getting set up.
Is he a big Celtics fan?
One big quotation.
I'm sorry. You're right. Let me put a little asterisk by that. When I say big Celtics fan, Buddy's probably. Let me put it in perspective.
I think you meant like big Celtics fan. I think that's what you meant.
Yes, that's what he meant.
When the Celtics won the NBA Finals 2 years ago, we were at Atlanta Braves game. Jackson forgot the game was even going on. As we were walking out of the stadium, Buddy got the notification that the Celtics won the NBA Finals. This was his reaction. Pulls out his phone. Oh, Celtics won the Finals. Yes. Didn't say anything else about the rest of the night. I'm like, buddy, if my team won, if the Hawks won the NBA Finals, I would have streaked first of all, I would have been at a Braves game. I would have been at the game myself. I would have streaked the court butt naked with the Harry the Hawk flag up my cheeks, and I would have probably tackled Quinn Snyder. That's how I would react to winning the NBA Finals.
That's the only right way. That's the only right way you should do it.
But I try to get him on the pod. I was like, hey, man, you want to hop on the podcast so we can talk about your Celtics getting clapped? He was like, oh, no, man. I didn't even watch it. Yeah, he didn't watch the game. So, surprise, surprise.
Yeah. But, yeah, so we do play Boston 2 more times next month in March. We play them the 27th of March and the 30th of March. We go back to TD Garden and then they come back to Atlanta. So yeah. So the next game, I'll let y'all take this game because y'all were there.
Oh brother. I'll tell you about the game. So shout out to.
We'll tell you about the food. That's what we'll tell you about.
No, I don't want to hear about the food because you're going to make me mad and jealous.
No, here we go. I'll tell you how the game went. Shout out to our boy Travis from church. He's a season ticket holder, and he goes to about every home game that the Hawks have, or at least a majority of them. But he couldn't make this game this past Thursday against the Rockets, so he's like, hey, he knows we're big Hawks fans. We talk Hawks basketball with him all the time. So he goes, how about give these tickets to y'all? He's like, they're club level seats. Y'all get free access to the casino buffet. It'd be a cool experience. We're like, sure, thank you, Travis. So we went to the game. We went to the court level casino, went inside, banging food. They had some brisket mac and cheese, some really good pizza. They had some banging cookies, and it was all free. So, we went down there, we ate, and was there a basketball game? Did the Hawks play basketball that day?
I think so. I can't really remember. There might have been a basketball game going on, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'd have to let me think about it for a minute.
Yeah, I think we went. It was like a Golden Corral. We went to I don't think we watched a Hawks basketball game. It's or at least what if you can even call that basketball, considering the fact no Jalen Johnson. I mean, obviously no Onyeka Okongwu because he's having some dental issues right now. I'll shift it to you, Angie. I just want to say one thing. It's a true shame that Jalen Johnson didn't play this game and that we didn't have Okongwu either, because defensively we actually played really good. Kevin Durant didn't really pop off until the second half, but in terms of what really went wrong is that because of the lack of size that we had missing Okongwu, we gave Koloko the start, which I was fine with. I would have rather started Mohamed Gay. But either way, Sagoon ended up playing. I know Sagoon was a game-time decision. He did end up playing. And with him and Capella, we were just outsized, outmatched in the paint. And the amount of offensive rebounds that we gave up was absolutely ridiculous. That caused a lot of second-chance opportunities that the Rockets did capitalize on. That was a big problem. And then ball control. I mean, our big men, Mohamed Gay, and Koloko, just that is a big downside. They just have absolutely no ball control. So that was per usual. But to add on to that, even our guards in our backcourt had really bad ball control. Like Dyson Daniels lost the ball a lot of times. Nikhil Alexander-Walker had a lot of nasty turnovers. So it was trying to adjust without having Jalen Johnson and Okongwu, and it was trying to figure out how to have it on. It was a hard offensive game plan to muster up because scoring inside wasn't really an option because we were playing small ball and the Rockets had such a tall lineup. So we were kind of forced to shoot a lot of mid-range shots and attack from deep, which worked to a certain extent. But it was late in the third quarter when the game got out of hand, and that just kind of force the Hawks to play desperation offense, which that's just a recipe for disaster in any scenario. So, but the way we played defensively, I really do feel like that could have been a different outcome if even Jalen Johnson would have just played in the game. But that wasn't the case, and we were very limited in what we could do, and that was just a really hard one to muster up.
I think with in case you didn't pick up on Chase's sarcasm, yes, we did watch the game. We hung out in the buffet. We made sure we got there like an hour and a half early so we could spend a lot of time in the buffet, get some good grub. Then we went to our seats and watched the game. It was a great start to the game. The first half. Well, I don't want to say the first half. The first quarter and then halfway through the second quarter was really impressive. It was really at the end of the second quarter when you really start to see the lack of size and the lack of ball control really hinder the team. But
we were only down by 3 at halftime.
Yeah, but Corey Kispert, he's been playing his best brand of basketball since he's been traded to the Atlanta Hawks. And that was made really evident in this game. And I think that's why Quinn Snyder really likes to keep him in the starting lineup because he adds a level of balanced attack with the Atlanta Hawks. He's a good inside scorer. He's a good catch and shoots guy, but he's really underrated on defense. he's got a lot of size, and he does it. He's not easy to back down, and that's really helpful when you got guys like Sengun on the Rockets, where the Rockets have really learned to kind of push the ball towards Sengun and let the play kind of dissolve around him. Because it was really interesting because they've got so many good scores with Kevin Durant, Reed Shepherd, who was completely shut down in the first half and then shot lights out in the second half. I mean, he was a big problem to the Atlanta Hawks in that third and fourth quarter. But then Ahmad Thompson was completely uninvolved in this game for the most part. He had his moments, like where he had short little spurts where he do a couple of nice things, but for the most part, Ahmad Thompson was very underwhelming, and I want to give credit to Dyson Daniels because he played a lot of good help defense on Ahmad Thompson when he tried to drive in. But Dyson Daniels did spend a lot of his attention on Kevin Durant as well. But let me tell you, it wasn't a great game of basketball for the Atlanta Hawks in the second half. Very competitive in the first quarter. CJ McCollum was really about the only consistent scorer for the Atlanta Hawks. He had a really strong night, took a lot of shots and made nearly half of them. And Clint Capella made his return to Atlanta. They played a little tribute video for Clint Capella. The whole stadium gave him a standing ovation. That was a nice moment. Clint Capella actually had a really nice play in that game. That was off a steal and a transition dunk. Our brother Jake went to the game with us, and he actually got a really good video of that. I will say though the Hawks didn't win and we got our 4-game winning streak snapped, I do agree with Chase. I think Okongwu and Jalen Johnson would have been the difference maker to push the Hawks over the edge, because though we were at a disadvantage, we were playing good enough basketball to counter what Kevin Durant was doing. Kevin Durant was unstoppable. He scored 30-plus points. It is very surreal watching Kevin Durant play in person because you never really understand how tall he is until you see him on the court with your own eyes, and it's kind of ridiculous. And Kevin Durant was doing his thing, but the turnovers were a big problem, and they were just sloppy turnovers, and one of those things where the Hawks kept getting in their own way. Like there was one possession where simply all that happened was CJ McCollum was dribbling the ball up the court, and he bounced it off of his shoe, and Reed Shepherd picked it up, made a layup, and it was just those kind of things. And we were given like these little backdoor cuts to Muhammad Gay. Muhammad Gay would touch it and he'd drop it and it'd go out of bounds, and those kind of things. And then Chase said the offensive rebounding was ridiculous. There was a point where, I kid you not, the Houston Rockets had almost 20 offensive rebounds in the third quarter alone. I made a joke because it was a big problem in the second quarter, and I looked at my brother and I made a joke and I said, how much you want to bet the Houston Rockets get 20 offensive rebounds in the second half? They almost did that in the third quarter, and that kind of helped them pull away. And at that point, Reed Shepherd really got a hot hand, and he was draining all these contested threes, and it became it got real ugly towards the end. But I got to see Keaton Wallace come play some garbage time minutes, and that made my pants do a dance. That was my highlight, was watching Keaton Wallace play the final 2 minutes of the game.
Well, I'm going to say this. Keaton Wallace actually had the best plus minus out of everybody on the team, which was +4. So really, Keaton Wallace was player of the game.
Says a lot. Absolutely. Keaton Wallace is the future, guys. I'm telling you, man. He's the future of this team. Let me tell you. There's going to be a day where we see a Keaton Wallace statue. They're actually going to tear down the Dominique Wilkins statue. So they can build like 2 giant Keaton Wallace statues.
Get this guy off the podcast.
That's enough. It's not.
They're actually going to name it. They're actually going to name it to Keaton Wallace Arena.
Joking is one thing, but being flat out disrespectful to the human highlight film or the human highlight reel is absolutely insane.
I'm not being disrespectful. He probably agrees. He'll probably be the one to consent to it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Anyways, so on Saturday, we played Indiana again, but this time we went to their place. And this is a great game until the final until I'd say the final 2 minutes. We had everyone back except Onyeka Okongwu. Jalen Johnson had his what was it conference tying triple double with 8.
He had his 8th triple double of the season, which leads the Eastern Conference.
Okay, yeah,
and he got his 33rd double double, which leads the NBA.
Okay, yeah. So, So now Jalen Johnson leads the NBA in double doubles, and leads the Eastern Conference with triple doubles. Because of his 33, 12, and 10 stat line that he had.
Monster game from Jalen.
And 3 steals as well. And 3 steals.
Yeah.
But we got some good news that we got Zach and Reese back.
Yes.
We had a quiet game, which was, I guess, is okay considering he was out for almost a month basically.
He was on minutes restriction. And even though he was in the starting lineup, he was still on minute restriction. So we didn't get a lot of Zachary in that game.
I mean, he got 22 minutes still, which is pretty solid.
That's the typical minute restriction for starters, is 22 minutes.
Yeah, so Zachary had 7 points, 3 rebounds, and that's basically it. Plus a steal. Nikhil Alexander had 21, 3 and 5. Mogay had 15 and 4 and 3 steals and a block, and then Dyson had 8 points. I think a triple double with 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. I'll go on with 2 steals. But off the bench, we had CJ McCollum had 18, Kennard had 11, and Corey Kispert had 11. Fellas, what happened in this game?
Look, it's you can. This is my thing. Bob Rathbun kind of talked about this last week when the Hawks hosted the Pacers last week on that Monday, that early Monday start. The Pacers got to a really hot start. It looked like the Hawks were going to lose that game. And Bob Rathbun made a good point. He was like, don't let the Pacers record fool you. I know they're playing all year without Tyrese Halliburton, but outside of Tyrese Halliburton, they have dealt with just a ridiculous amount of injuries this year. But now they're at the point of the NBA season where they're starting to get healthy and they're starting to get back into the original Pacers team that was supposed to be in play from this season. So they're starting to go back to Indiana basketball because they're getting more and more healthy, and that's showing with the recent performance because the Pacers, including the win the other day, have now won 7 of their last 12 games despite starting the season 6-31. So it's not like this was an embarrassing loss to an embarrassing team because the Pacers are, at this point of the year, are turning into a really solid basketball team in the Eastern Conference. This was just an absolute abysmal game defensively, and I'll tell you why. It just with one simple stat, I can show you how bad this game was defensively. The Pacers scored 129 points while turning the ball over 23 times. They had 23 turnovers, yet they still scored 129 points because it wasn't like the Hawks weren't executing off these turnovers. We actually were. We were taking these turnovers, which are really bad turnovers, not like forced turnovers. I'm talking about they were throwing the ball out of bounds. They were just having ridiculous offensive fouls, that kind of stuff. And yet the Hawks still had 23 points off of their 23 turnovers. So offensively wasn't the issue because Corey Kispert had a really good game. I mean, John gave you all statistics. Jared Johnson has 8 triple-double of the season, which is a really good triple-double. But, I mean, there's just nothing the Hawks could do defensively. I mean, Pascal Siakam was having a masterclass inside the post. Nembhard was absolutely torching the Hawks.
Andrew Nembhard, he scored almost 20 points in the first 8 minutes of that game. I think he had 15 points with 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter, and I think he shot 5 for 6 or something. That dude was not missing.
And even Naismith had 23 points while shooting 80%. And he was the guy that went off when he came to Atlanta. And, the Pacers actually used Jay Huff this time, which they didn't play him.
What a second quarter. That Jay Huff in the second quarter was like Nikola Jokic. Like that dude was hitting some insane post moves. I had Jay Huff on my fantasy team at one point. I know dude's a baller, but that was like a different version of Jay Huff in that second quarter. It was crazy.
It's not even him in the post. Like his dunk package is insane. And
it's so awkward.
Andrew and I being Florida State fans, Jay Huff, he went to Virginia. So we got our fair share of watching Jay Huff torch our Seminoles. So we kind of already know what his dunk packages was like. But I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Not sure why they didn't use him at all when they came to Atlanta. But they used him this time.
I think I found out that Jay Huff had like some kind of knee contusion or something. And he was on minute restriction. And I think it got to the point where the Pacers decided not to pull him in the second half because he had a few minutes in the first half, but he didn't come in at all in the second half.
He didn't play at all in the first half. He didn't come in until the final 4 minutes of the game.
Or maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was the other way around.
I don't know what the reason was, but I mean, even Bob Rathbun was confused because when they brought Jay Huff in, Bob Rathbun was like sarcastic, like, "Oh, here's Jay Huff," and Bob Rathbun was like, little too late, Indiana. And, I don't know, he seemed a little confused by that. But I'll kind of kick it to Andrew, and he can get into this a little more. There were moments where, like especially on the outside. I mean, Indiana did shoot the three ball very well. They shot 46% from deep. But I feel like those shots were contested. I know Andrew agrees with this. Their shots beyond the arc, we did contest pretty well. It was just one of those nights where they weren't missing. My problem was with how weak our inside defense was. And Zachary, when he was on the court, played a big part in this. We talked about this with a buddy of ours from church, about Zachary Richey. That's kind of one of his biggest flaws, at least in my opinion, is how weak his inside defense is. And when we have a guy of that size and that versatility, you need to add a little more physicality to this in-post defense, to this driving inside, protecting the glass. That's something Zachary didn't do. And that was a big reason Pascal Siakam had a really big night. But Andrew, if you want to talk about that a little more and kind of talk about some more issues that went wrong for Atlanta, because this was a game we needed to win and a game we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, and I like how you use the word shouldn't have lost because, again, it's one of those things where we kind of got in our own way. The Hawks offensively was efficient all throughout the night. I mean, we did our job. I'm one to believe if you score 120 points, you have done your job to win the game. Jalen Johnson had a dominant first quarter. He really set the tone for the Atlanta Hawks. He was kind of counteracting what Andrew Nembhard was doing. Because every time Andrew Nembhard would score, Jalen Johnson would go on the other end and kind of do the same thing. So offensively, we did great. Luke Kennard had some really big threes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was very present throughout the game, with his three-point shot. Again, Onyeka Okongwu, so we had to resort to Koloko and Muhammad Gay, who had better games. Muhammad Gay's ball control was better, but for some reason he was failing to score inside the paint. He just had he had his moments, but it was more of a struggle than what we're used to. So it's kind of like in the same way the Hawks never really had true big man presence. They were there, but they weren't acting as true big men. And I think that goes to Chase's point is – the big problem and the reason why guys like Okongwu are so important to this team is exactly what Chase mentioned. We had the rebounding at times. We had the shot blocking most of the time. We can create turnovers. Now, like Chase said, some of the, a lot, I guess a good handful of Indiana's 23 turnovers came in their own hands just because of bad ball placement and that sort of stuff. But there were moments where the Hawks are the ones that, intercepted passing lanes, pick ball loose. We forced turnovers and, transition was really good. But I think what the problem is, and Chase said it, physicality. Now, you can excuse Zachary a little bit because he hasn't played in several weeks. You can't expect him to be on minute restriction, go out there and be 100% physical. But guys like Muhammad Gay, Koloko, I'll even throw names out there like CJ McCollum. there's not a lot of physicality to reprimand what guys like Siakam are able to do in the paint. And that's why, like Chase said, Siakam was making it seem like it was too easy to get to the rim, even when TJ McConnell came in. Now, TJ McConnell, he's a pesky guy at his age and at his size, but if you're not physical on the back down, TJ McConnell is going to get to the rim every single time. And that's kind of what he did during his moments in the game. And it's like, yes, the Hawks had the offense to stay in there, but when it got to those moments down the stretch, it's like every time the Hawks would make their shot to make it a 1 or 2 point game, the Pacers were never stressed. They were never worried because they knew exactly how to counteract and close a game. And that's hitting it where it hurts, going straight to the paint. And then, and I know John's probably gonna, thinking the same thing. The Hawks, even against the odds defensively, found it in ourselves. The Pacers forced a dump turnover. They had an inbound play with 3 seconds left.
We got to figure out some new inbounding play because we run that pretty much every game, and it doesn't work.
The problem is to the Raptors game that we also went to. Remember that inbounding disaster?
Yes. Well, the problem is
that's what I'm talking about, Chase. Thank you.
Yep. The problem is, it started. The Pacers had the inbound with 3 seconds left. All the Pacers had to do was get the ball in so we could potentially foul, make the free throws, and the game's over. So they got it to Pascal Siakam, and we intentionally fouled, but the refs caught a travel on TJ McConnell because you can't move your feet when you're inbounding the ball, and he kind of did like a full step into the pass, which is illegal. So the Hawks had the inbound down by 2. Down by 3. So we actually had to hit a 3 to tie the game. But regardless, we had an opportunity to tie the game with 3 seconds left. And I know what John's saying about the inbound play. It's very sketchy because it can put yourself in a bad position if you're not careful. And I will say, I actually think the inbound play was ran the right way that time. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had separation. He bounced off from behind. I think CJ Huff was subbed into the game for defensive purposes, and he moved around Huff, bounced off Nemart, and he had separation. So if Jalen Johnson would have completed the pass, Nickeil could have ran to the top of the key and shot a game-tying 3. But I actually blame it on Jalen Johnson. The inbound pass itself was horrible. He threw it out of the reach of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so he had to stretch his hand down, and it knocked off his fingers, and Andrew Nembhard just ran around him and grabbed the ball. So I actually think this time the inbound was the actual design was ran kind of nicely. It was just a terrible inbound pass by Jalen Johnson, which was just the cherry on top of the crap sundae.
I don't think it was go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I don't even know why Jalen Johnson was inbounding that play. I don't even think he's our best passer. I think Dyson should have inbounded the ball.
I agree. Yeah. I was confused about that too.
That may be a hard take. I think Dyson should have inbounded the ball. He can't shoot the 3 ball. Jalen can.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know if maybe we did it because Jalen's a tall guy, and because maybe so they didn't have to worry about the defender guarding the inbound. I'm not too sure. I don't want to say it was a bad pass, inbound pass by Jalen Johnson.
It was.
I don't know. I don't know what happened in the timeout when we were preparing for that play. I don't think it's because Jalen Johnson threw a bad pass. I think what happened is that Nickeil Alexander-Walker was moving, and then he stopped. And Jalen Johnson threw it forward, thinking Nickeil Alexander-Walker was supposed to keep moving down court. Because you can tell.
Think about that. I think Chase is right. I think Chase is right. I think he did stop. I think he did sort of stop his route. Sorry to talk in football terms, but I think he sort of stopped his route there, and Jalen playing quarterback overthrew him and.
You're right. Because you can tell.
Who's on him? Was it TJ? Was TJ on him?
I think it was TJ McConnell that officially got the steal.
No, it was Andrew Nembhard.
Okay.
Because you can kind of tell by Jalen Johnson's reaction too. Because the moment he threw the ball and he saw Nikhil stop, Jalen Johnson threw his hands off and he started going like this, like telling Nikhil Alexander Walker, "Why did you stop running?" So I don't think it was a bad inbound pass. I think it was just a case of miscommunication. I don't think him and Na were on the same page. And like I said, I don't know if the mistake happened when they were drawing the play up and Na heard one thing and JJ heard the other, but they clearly weren't on the same page. Because if Na would have kept running, the ball would have been right where Na was, what Jalen thought Na was going to be, but Na wasn't thinking the same way. So it wasn't like a bad inbound pass. It was just miscommunication.
I think I understand what you're saying, but I think that's actually the reason why it was a bad inbound pass, because the only reason, though that might be what Jalen's thinking, that it still makes it a bad inbound pass on Jalen's part, because the design of that play is Nikhil Alexander Walker to bounce off the defender. In that case, if there's no separation, that's when you want to hit Nikhil Alexander Walker as he's moving towards the half court line. So in that case, yes, that was the right play. But what happened was Nikhil Alexander Walker had like 2 steps of separation off Andrew Nemard. So there was no reason for him to keep moving towards the half court line. So that's why he stopped and expected Jalen to just give it to his hands. But for some reason, Jalen still was trying to force him towards the half court line, even though Nikhil Alexander Walker had like 2 steps of separation on Andrew Nemard. And that's why Nikhil Alexander Walker looked at Jalen Johnson all frustrated, because he's like, "Why are you trying to progress me towards the half court line? I'm right here. There's nobody on me." And it's like Jalen Johnson was still trying to get him away from the defense, even though Nikhil Alexander Walker had like 2 steps of separation.
Well,
and
how do you know that wasn't the play? How do you know that?
Plays aside, at the end of the day, it comes down to bad communication. Like both sides weren't communicating very well.
Yeah,
It's just bad communication.
Exactly.
I mean, like Jalen has to be the team captain. Say, "Hey, this is what I want you guys to do. We're inbounding the ball. Don't like ask questions or nothing. It's like." Just do exactly what emotion you to do, and then let's try to get a shot off so we can tie this game up.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. But
that's right.
But
amen. Preach it, John. Preach it.
Yeah, no, just bad communication, and when Jalen and Nikhil have to trust each other better. I mean, that's all it has to. That's all it has to do. Yeah.
It's just frustrating because the Hawks were on a 4-game winning streak. Things were looking up, and then a blink of an eye, it's like we're starting to progress backwards again. And now we have a really important road trip to Miami this Tuesday before we come back home and host Utah, and then a really big game against Charlotte. Because, like you said, John, before we start the podcast, Charlotte is right on our cheeks, and if we're not careful, they could be in a playing spot, and we could be out of it. So. Got some important Hawks basketball coming up, fellas.
This has nothing to do with basketball, but look at the BTA Boston's pulling on the stay-in series right now.
Oh, it's 5-1?
It's 5-1, and they're only halfway through the second period.
Yeah, you know why? You know why that happened? Because the Tampa Bay Lightning players walked into the game wearing Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniforms, and they were led by Baker Mayfield. So, rightfully so.
That was actually dope. I like that whole presentation where the Tampa Bay Lightning had their own custom creamsicle jerseys, and then the Boston Bruins showed up in like 1776 Boston, Massachusetts outfits. It was so hilarious. And then Tampa Bay scored 11 seconds into the game, and then I guess it's been all Boston from there.
Because then Baker Mayfield led the team out into the stadium wearing a Tampa Bay uniform. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Anyways,
do you have any closing remarks before we end the pod today?
Just gotta have a better week next week.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
If we lose to the Hornets and I see LaMelo hit kind of zesty celebration, it's going to be an ugly podcast this time next week. I will crash out.
And if we trade anyone, I will crash out as well because that's still. I
Oh,
mean,
God.
I mean, I don't. I mean, again, I don't think we need to. Well, I don't think we need to make any like moves. Just think that we need to build up the chemistry that we have now, and I think it's gonna work out itself. Whether we win or lose games, that's on the team that we have now.
Yep.
We don't need to make any more moves.
The only thing I'm okay with is if we trade our pick for Anthony Davis. That's the only trade I'd be okay with.
Yeah, Chase drugs are bad for you. I just gotta tell you that drugs are bad for you.
There you go. I fixed the problem.
Okay, well, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 65 of Talking ATL Hawks, and we will see you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll have better games, more wins to talk about. But
Amen. Yeah. Here you go, Chase. Just hit your Chicago quick. Now he's gone.